Hunting camp. There's nothing like hunting camp. For a number of years now, my dad and I have had this really special hunting trip that we go on. We've got some friends, Dirk and Gary, that have a hunting lease down in Trempealeau County, and they've been really good about letting us come down there and hunt. And I wanted to bring you in on some of the amazing stories of the hunts that I had for 2018. Well, I'm set up on stand here. I'm set up on a spot here. I've never hunted this spot before, but it's kind of at the base of some bedding that's happening up on top of a ridge. So there's a ridge just right up that direction, and they're bedding all up along in there. They're also bedding up on a spot over here, and they're kind of funneling down towards where I'm at. So I'm not pushing in real close to the bedding here on this first hunt, but you know, if the deer get up on their feet and move a little bit earlier, they don't have to come a couple hundred yards, and they'd be in the zone where I'd start to be able to see them. We do have a trail camera picture of a pretty nice buck that's been making the rounds through here. He's super massive. He just doesn't have a whole lot of tine length, but he's really heavy. So I'm hoping that we can get a glimpse at this buck here tonight. Stay tuned. So the hunt was pretty uneventful until about the last 7 or 8 minutes. And that's when it got a little bit interesting. I heard some crunching coming on the hillside right up in front of me, and I saw a flash of 2 deer go running through, and I figured it had to have been a buck that was chasing a doe. Then, a few moments later, I hear some crunching coming from right down below me, and that's not where I was expecting the deer to come from. That was coming over towards the field. And so I was caught off guard a little bit startled, turned around, got the camera rolling, and I see some horns coming up the hillside. As this buck is making his way up the hill, I was a little unsure of what he was, you know, if he was very big or not, because all I could see was really his main beams coming out, and he looked like he had a decent spread and a decent sized body, and I was caught off guard, so everything's just happening so fast. And so as you can see, I kind of drew my bow back and then I let it back down, but the whole time I was kind of thinking, man, I just don't think he's quite big enough, but I didn't want to miss the opportunity if it was a shooter buck. And I was a little bit disappointed right away because I thought, man, maybe I messed up. But my dad had seen that buck just a few moments before I saw him, and he said and confirmed that he wasn't quite a shooter. So that gave me a little bit of relief in that moment, knowing that I did pass him up, because I would have been bummed at that moment if I would have shot him. But it was such a cool encounter, an amazing experience, very fun hunt. On the second day of our hunt down here in Trempealeau County, and I got set up in this spot here. We call it the highway stand. It's kind of a nice area to hunt because there's a lot that kind of comes together right here. You've got some, you know, that alfalfa field down below me here. You've got what we call lost field just right behind me over here. And there's this little finger of trees that comes right behind over here. This is a spot that I actually had a super cool encounter with a buck when I was 15 years old. He came right from that finger of trees and came right up on the hillside right over here. It was one of those years when it was earn a buck. So shot a doe yet, so I couldn't. Sadly, unfortunately, I couldn't shoot this buck even though he was 20 yards away from me. So he ended up getting shot by the guy that we hunt with, Dirk, down here. Dirk shot him. He was like a 140-inch buck, just a stud of a deer. But I got to sit and watch that deer at 20 yards, and it's raining out, and that buck shook his body, and you could just see the water spray off his back, and then he shook his antlers, and his antlers are just this. One of the coolest hunts I've ever had. Yeah, just a lot of great memories from this highway stand. Well, that morning, nothing was moving. And so, I was getting a little bit bored. And when I get a little bored, I get a little weird. I don't think I've ever hunted in an area with more squirrels. Hey! It's out of control. Dang, things sound like a freight train. So this is what happens when your dog gets a hold of your rangefinder. Yep.
Leo, this is why we can't have nice things.
Well, I'm on my third hunt here, down in Trumpelow County. What I've got is right back behind me over here, over my corner here. You can kind of see it. There's an alfalfa field right there. And back over in this direction over here, that is a cornfield over there. Probably that's a couple 100 yards away. There's a ridge right out straight in front of me this way, and that's where all the bedding is happening, is mainly along this ridge. Right underneath the tree over here, there's a bunch of scrapes. I got 3 scrapes right here, and there's a rub. And so they're coming out of the bedding area. The bedding area is back up in over there. They're skirting along the edge of this hill here, and they're coming out right over here and checking a scrape before they head to the alfalfa field or the corn. The problem that I have here is that the wind is blowing right just past this ridge here. It's going right down into the valley below me here. And the deer are coming from this direction, so my wind is going to be going right like this, and hopefully they'll come from right here. So we're definitely threading the needle here tonight. No guarantee that the deer will come on this trail, but it's just that that's where the best sign was. And that's where I would figure that they'd be coming out. They'd come out of their bed and check the scrapes first. Plus, with all the activity that we saw yesterday with bucks chasing, I was thinking that this might be a good setup to have. So once again on this hunt, it was pretty uneventful until about the last 10-12 minutes of the hunt. And at that point I heard a deer coming from right down the hillside, almost straight downwind of me. So as the time was passing on, that younger 8-point buck that I had out in front of me, he was kind of meandering around, and my camera light was just going downhill pretty quick, so I wasn't able to get all of what happened when he was there. But he basically came right up the trail, right alongside me, right behind me actually, and he ended up catching me making some movement, and then he boogered and kind of ran off and was snorting. And meanwhile, there was another smaller buck that was straight south of me, and he was up on that road as well. They were all kind of coming towards where that scrape was at, just like I thought that they would be doing. They were all kind of coming to that area. And so it was really cool to see how that plan worked out. I was just hoping it would have been a little bit of a bigger buck, but man, was it a cool experience once again. Well, there it is, the wrap up on the first 2 days of the hunt. Some exciting action that's already been happening, and there is much more to come. In fact, the next hunt that you're going to watch is the best hunt that I've ever had in my lifetime. So make sure that you stay tuned to the next video. It's going to be really exciting. If you like this video, please be sure to take a moment to like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks.